right, so what we're going to do in this segment, we will be working with our gems. Oh, let me find the right place to put it. Next to my face, further back. Maybe I should put somebody else in charge of this. Gem state tool. I can use the tool better than I can show you the tool, apparently. It's a good thing that we actually have Beth, who has a copy of the electronic version of the tool that she will be able to throw up on the screen when I'm talking about it. So Beth is one of the people, along with some of, actually one of our certified community, that really was the reason we created this. And it was a way to put all in one place, something that could be used in an emergency, in a first contact, or over time to help somebody who is living with dementia, their family, their providers, in order to have a resource that spoke to ability-based care, and based on the person's ability, what kind of support and environmental features might be helpful to optimize their abilities in a moment of time. Because in fact, we need both long-term planning for what would be supportive and helpful, but we also need short-term fixes when things are out of control. So what I'm going to have us do, if everybody has their tool, and if you don't, do know that you can still, I believe, I'm going to say this, and it may be a false statement, but I'm going to go with it. You could still get it at whatever the rate is for this webinar, because all we did was charge for the tool, not the webinar. The webinar is free. If you didn't buy the tool and you're signed up and you go, oh, I don't have the tool, and you paid for the webinar, we didn't mean for people to do that. We really wanted you to get the tool. But if you don't, Laura, who's one of our folks who does a lot of it, customer support, will make sure that we work that out and you end up with a tool rather than just paying for the webinar, because we actually didn't intend anybody to buy the webinar. We wanted you to buy the tool so you'd have it. So the very first thing, if you do have your tool, I'm going to pull out is this scale, because what we did is we compared the gem states to what you might more routinely or traditionally see, which is the Allen cognitive levels. So yes, the gems are based on Allen cognitive levels, but we talk about gem states. A brain is in a state at any moment in time, chemically changing, structurally changing. And that's why we don't use levels per se, because it's a dynamic thing. We then have the FAST scale, which many rehab people are familiar with. It's based on global deterioration scale, essentially, but it's rehab oriented, if you would. And then we have the GDS, the global deterioration scale. And that's that one that's that 7-point scale where 1, 2, 3, yeah, normal, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Oh, guess what I just discovered? Huh. Funny, you read this thing over and over, getting ready to go, and sure enough, what did we just see, Beth? What did you just see?
Yeah, there's a bit of a order change here, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. What else do people notice?
Teeb, I'm wondering if we might be able to pull that up. Is that a good time for this?
Yeah, why don't you show it? Because some people may not be able to find the page. It's the back of the first page, but if you look at it, where's 5?
Huh. Yeah, some people in the chat are saying, what do you have against 5? Where's 5?
Where's 5? So 5 is this interesting thing. 5 is actually somewhere between 4 and 6. It's sort of hard to figure out exactly where it would fit here, because it fits more up in the 4s, but it also fits down in the 2s. It's sort of if you look at the Allen scale, because if you look at global deterioration scale, some of the descriptors that make somebody a 5, it's interesting what you would find. Some of them would fit over here between 4 and 6 in the what we would call the emerald amber area, and some of them would fit more over here in the amber ruby area. So our problem was, 5 is sort of this interesting thing when it comes to global deterioration and FAST scale, because it has some mixed messages in it. So we could have put it 5 in a couple places, or we apparently decided to not put it at all because we weren't sure exactly where to put it. We may revise that at some point, but this is a little bit tricky because the GDS and the Allen are not just opposites. It's not just that the numbers go in the opposite direction. There is actually description that is meant to describe the person's disabilities or inabilities or functional problems. And they're a little tricky. So I'm just going to lay that out there. And we're going to pause there, because the reason that we put this in here was simply to have something you could refer to for if you have what? Why would you be interested in this page at all? What would this page offer you? Anybody want to give me a guess what you're getting out of this page?
I think good, they're starting to come see their ideas.
So people are saying communication with professional people, understanding of test results, a way to communicate with doctors using these scales, translation if you only know a certain scale.
Yeah, so it allows us to talk in common language. So if somebody says, well, I think they're an Allen level 2, well, what that would more than likely translate in Jem's words are someone's in a Ruby state in that moment. And the difference is they're an Allen level 2, and we would say in this moment, they're in a Ruby state. Their brain is in a Ruby state, functional at a Ruby state. Now, what else? What else might it be helpful for? Anybody have any other ideas?
They're talking about comparisons and maybe baselines.
Yeah, so the idea of how many of you'd rather be in first place? But how many of you'd rather be a level 1 on a cognitive scale versus 6 if you look at the Allen, versus you're going to be a 1 on a GDS scale or a 7 on the GDS scale? Yeah, so I opted long ago not to number people or put numbers with people, because it's a challenge then, because all of a sudden we start thinking about one is better, one is less. And so the idea is this concept of you could be in a state and you could vary, but there's no number associated with it. There's value in all these brain states. And so that was what this is really about. We don't have numbers on it. We have descriptions of abilities. So sapphires are true blue, diamonds are clear and sharp, emeralds are on the go and they have some purpose. Ambers are caught in a moment of time. Rubies have strength, but not a lot of skill. And pearls are hidden in a shell. So we're going to just pause there for a second. And Beth is going to take this down and I'm going to share my screen, because I'm really curious. Given just that description alone, that's how we're going to start. I'm going to have you watch a video clip. Here we go. Oh, got it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Put it. Yeah. Oh my God. You're here. You're here. You're here. I got you. I got you here. But I don't know where to put you. I don't know. Oh no. I got it. Wait. I can't. I don't know. You got all of the. There's so that would be purple, perpetual. Oh, there's. I got it. Okay. Any concept of what gem state that woman might be in.
Right off, people are saying ruby, then some ambers.
Okay. So the only thing we've covered in this tool is one page, one phrase under one page, and you guys are already coming up with some ideas of where to go next. So where we're going to go next is, let's go to the next page. And we had an idea, amber ruby. This person seems to be amber ruby-ish. Now somebody suggested emerald with on the go with purpose. Did she have purpose, or was she sort of just experiencing things in that moment? And was she going with purpose? What do y'all think?
So people are noticing that she still has some skill and she seems to be more caught in the moment.
Okay, so some little bit of skill, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So let's turn to the next page. So Beth has up the next page. And so let's compare our ambers and rubies. And since some people threw in the emerald, we'll take a look over on the side there. Let's look at ruby first, because I saw ruby come up a good bit at first. Strong red, retain strengths, not a lot of skills. So what kind of things, when we say the word skills for a human being, what are human skills? When we talk about the brain and the brain's ability to use skills of the human body, because the brain guides the body. So what would be some skills? So what do you think?
So people are saying finger dexterity, fine motor and gross motor abilities, organizational abilities, grasping, language, holding, walking.
Yeah. Ooh. So let's go back and okay, we've got one you guys haven't mentioned yet. You
Well,
did sort of.
We've got more. We've got vision. We've got balance.
Good. Cool. So has anybody said object recognition? Recognizing objects for use? Anything like that? Oh, okay.
Yep. One person said identify objects.
Oh, all right, cool. So when we looked at Tipa, when you watched her, let's watch her again for a few minutes. Because again, that was a total of about a minute and a half, I think. Let me double check. I'll share my screen again. We'll go back and look and see how long it was we were watching her. 1 minute and 29 seconds. I want folks to have in their head what all you could possibly look for in this. Now, if you want a little guidance on that, let's go to page 3. So Beth, I'll pause here for a second. I'm sorry, I'll quit sharing so you can share page 3 before I show them myself, that lady, that woman that, I don't know who that was, some lady that came in here, and I saw her earlier today. So what I could do is, my first glance was, I'm thinking amber ruby. And then I looked at the next one and I'm still thinking amber ruby, sort of caught in time, maybe emerald, but quad definitely. Seeming to be on the go, but not really going anywhere. Missing details. I don't know, it could be, there's not enough data there for me. In motion or still? Well, she certainly was mostly, do you think she was in motion or still? What's your take on it, Amanda? What do you think? In motion or still?
Seemed that it was a constant motion of some part of the body. Maybe not always her feet, but hands were moving, body was constantly moving.
Did it look like she was focused on sensory needs or just into sensory experiences?
Seemed more driven by what was seen, not necessarily seeking anything actively, but noticing the world around her as she saw it.
Okay. It did look like she confused objects though, yeah?
Yeah, there did not seem to be a clear understanding of what the apron with birds on it, whether it was real, not real, what exactly it was, and then that it was different than the blanket.
Okay. All right, so let's take a look. And she did, somebody mentioned that I think she sort of had a little stumble there when she went to do something. So Beth had up that detailed thing. And if we look carefully, it talks about what kind of vision, language receptive. Now, did we hear or see her interact with anybody yet? No, so we don't have that data, but we do have her doing some talking or making sounds anyway. She does seem to be doing something verbally. Body skills. Okay, awareness of people. Place awareness. What would you say about her? If you look at place awareness there, okay if comfortable, otherwise we'll seek elsewhere. Limited environmental awareness, more of a pattern of being in motion or still. So people are thinking what, comfortable or uncomfortable? What do y'all think?
Looking more not comfortable, and a few are saying not sure of the space.
Not sure about things.
Mhm.
Okay, a lot of, now what, I'm curious, why do you say unsure? What did she do that gave you that sense? What about her makes you feel that you say, and you guys are right on it, she seemed uncomfortable? What? Oh.
People are picking up a lot about the closet and the closet doors, about it being in the way and not being able to really figure out how to open it.
Yeah.
Her face seemed distressed. She fiddled with the door and whatever she saw.
But it was sort of like maybe she recognized it was a door, but she couldn't figure out the door. Because what do you know about that closet door? What do y'all know about a door like that? I bet many of you know that. Oh, it's an accordion door. You have to pull in a certain way to get it. Otherwise, you'll maybe just, if you're strong and you really want to get in there, what might you do to that door? Anybody want to make a guess? Oh, she might. Yeah. All right, so let's watch her again. Now that you've really dug into this, now again, so far, I mean, we've watched her for like a minute and a half. So let's go back and look at her again, and let's see what you can notice this time. What do you pick up on this time? I just, oh, got it. Oh my goodness. Okay, put it. Yeah. Oh my God. You're here. You're here. You're here. I got you. I got you here. But I don't know where to put you. I don't know. Oh no. I got it. Wait. I can't. I don't know. You got all of the, there's so, oh, that would be perfect, purple, perpetual. Oh, yes, I got it. Okay. Any additional thoughts?
People were picking up on the idea that her clothing seems like she has pants on backwards, that she seems unstable going backwards.
Does she only have on one pair of pants, or has she got pants on pants?
We've got layers. We've got multiple things.
Do we have layers up top too?
Mm-hmm.
Do they look like they're on correctly or accurately? No. And does she have stuff in her hands that is she doing anything with the stuff in her hands? Or is she just carrying it around? Okay, so we'll pause here. In this moment, if you had to come in and interact with her, you had to come into this space and do something with her. Let's turn to the next page, Beth, because, ooh, I've got an idea. If she looks like this and sounds like this, wow, now we have in this moment, if we think she's either ruby or amber, put your hand, go ahead, everybody, cup your hand like you're holding water. We will want to come up underneath her in ruby support. We will come underneath in ruby support because we don't want to stick our hand in the middle of amber ruby and find out we're in the wrong place. That would be uncomfortable for both of us. So we're going to come up under her with ruby support and see what happens. Now, why might me be walking into the situation? Well, maybe we got a phone call. Maybe we're her usual care provider. Maybe I'm coming on shift. Maybe there's an emergency. Maybe I found her. She's not supposed to be here. I have no idea where this woman has come from. I don't know. What is going on here? You know, it could be lots of different situations. Somebody could be coming into this absolutely cold. And the point of this tool is to go, if you notice those things, let's take a quick look here. What do we got? Offer greeting matching speed, allow time to visually explore, cue one cue at a time, use facial expression with your greeting, pair a single word with a gesture, use song or counting or rhythm, initiate or transition with change of pace, offer your hand and wait for regard and move into hand under hand. So I'm noticing somebody said with COVID, you can't do hand under hand. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to call bullshit on it. And I don't mean it in an ugly way, but we've got to get over this idea that for people living with dementia, that we can maintain social distance and give care. That is bullshit. You cannot maintain care for a woman like this at social distance. If she could do care for herself, yeah, great. This is not what we're seeing right now. We need to acknowledge, I need to create a barrier, a boundary, but I have hand sanitizer and I've been vaccinated. So you know what? If I need a mask on, I could use, if I have it, one of these masks that has at least a visual. And, you know, quite frankly, I'm the most dangerous thing she's going to run across. Unfortunately, I'm it, or whoever cared for her before I got here might be the highest risk, but with a vaccination rate really high, and even without, where's she been? I mean, this is not a woman who's been roaming around the countryside. And if she has, boy, does she need help right now, because more than likely she's got an unbelievable list of unmet needs. Because is this a woman who could feed herself? Is this a woman who could bathe herself? Is this a woman who could toilet herself, take her meds? Is she going to hydrate herself? Is this a woman who can do any of that? This is similar. If you found a small child in the street crawling around, you're just going to stand there and go, well, you know, COVID. I'm calling bullshit. And it's time for us to sort of stand up and go, time out. You know, this is where this idea of care versus caution. Yes, use caution, but son of a gun, guys, you know, come on. We have put these people in boxes and we've killed way too many accidentally just in our effort to keep them from getting COVID, and they died anyway of other things. You know, we need to take a deep breath here and realize, wow, this is really serious stuff that's happening to folks. And families are going down, and we've got to figure out how to get in here and get supportive in a very respectful way. But at the same time, time out. This should never have happened the way it happened. And I'm going to say it straight up. These people deserved better than they got. They were put and lumped in with a group of people who could do differently. Tipa in that picture was not somebody who was deliberately causing problems. She needs help. So I'm done preaching. Sorry. But all right. So now, next page, Beth. Here's the question. I think we have a 4-step crisis safety plan in order here. Why? Does this woman look okay? Is anybody thinking this lady is just, this is business as usual? We should let it go because this is probably how she is 24/7. This is just how she is. And if you do, oh, I am so sorry. That is not a place I want anybody to be. So, Beth, I'm going to have you help us out a little bit, and I'm going to ask Amanda to pitch in. I want you two to go through very quickly, what do we see this in this woman? Let's look at her expressions of emotional distress, and let's look at possible needs that she might have that it causes me to wonder, is this woman going to be able to meet any of her own needs? What would they be, and how would she get them met? Okay, so go ahead and talk with us, you two.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start looking at between these two. What have I got information wise? It's not that one, it's not looking like, is there an emotional distress that needs to be assisted or helped or come in to support, or are there physical needs that we need to address? And especially with somebody whose language is this changed, I have to kind of go with what I start. So I was really curious, Amanda, what were some of the things that first jumped out to you looking at this context of unmet needs of all 10?
Well, I think somebody mentioned it in the chat, and I think when Tipa asked, what could she do for herself? I think actually she could find some comfort in some sensations because she was finding things she liked and those stayed here, and things she didn't like, scissors and other sharper implements, went in her pocket. So there was some sort of sorting and finding of comfort and finding helping, even though the birds on the
That
apron were not
yeah.
exactly real. She was offering comfort to them. So the comfort piece,
That jumped out. Amanda, I'm going to
yeah,
pause you because that's huge. I know that a lot of us looking at someone in this state of distress, I mean, especially if you're on this webinar, you're somebody that cares and you've been battling so much over the past year and a half now. I tend to think that a lot of us go to a place of trying to figure out where her distress is or what are the things she can't meet. Why did you go to a place initially where of looking at what she could do? Why is that like a pack approach? What was your thinking?
frankly, because Tipa asked me to look at that, but also because if I don't notice what she's doing skillfully on her own, I'm going to step in and screw it up. Any of us who've stepped into Tipa's Ruby role plays will know that if you enter with your own agenda of the thing that you're thinking she can't do, and let me just help you out.
This is such a clear, wonderful tool. The thing that is really highlighting by you going to what she can do is this initial place that, oh my gosh, even when I have my frontal lobe on and I'm really looking at somebody's unmet need, I actually can make meeting their unmet need my agenda, is what I'm hearing. And I honestly have never thought about that. So then where do I go through here looking at this functionally? How then do I come in and then, so now I'm going to, if she's here, I come up underneath almost and try to augment or support additionally the ways that she's already meeting her own comfort. Where do you go to next in terms of your exploration?
Yeah, because it seems like she's able to do some self-stimulation, and that's bringing some form of comfort, whether it's appropriate or not is neither here nor there. The audience and I noticed this face, this obvious discomfort. It seemed like it might be in the fear, but it also might be isolation. I don't know, because it could also be bored out of my mind. I've been here for hours doing the same 5 things over and over and over. If I really am in this more Ruby state, this could have been a long time of this. So it may be then energy up or down. So it helps me notice where and how I'm going to come in and present myself as a person who may not be recognized as a person in
Ooh.
this space. So this is really important.
Okay, so you're centered down to, from what I heard, somewhere around here. Maybe it's that she feels lonely or abandoned. Maybe it's trapped, but there's clearly there's some sort of anxiety aspect. But it may simply be because she is at this point of feeling absolutely useless. She's finding stuff. It may be that she's seeking, but it also may be that she is trying. Okay, so with that, looking at maybe meeting comfort in this context. gives you a place to start. Okay.
Okay, so what we've been doing, what step are we on this page so far? What step are we at on this page? We are observing. We are observing. And what we can observe, how many people were around her? How fast are people moving? She's the only one moving. How fast is she moving? How wide does the visual field appear to be? Pretty narrow. What was the noise level? She was the only one making the noise. How many words are being used? Pretty limited. Is she speaking though? Who's she talking to? To an apron and to a roll of fabric and to herself a little bit? Who's touching her? Nobody. She's touching stuff. Is she putting it on herself? She has put some things on herself. She's got them on. Does she recognize any of the things she's got on as being uncomfortable from what we can tell? Is she messing with the pants, pulling on the pants, or did she just put the scissors in the pocket of the pants? Okay. Is there anybody within arm's length? No. So now before we move in, what's step 2? And this is such a hard one for us. Oh, this is hard. We need to do a little more info gathering. Okay. So has anybody here been around her at all? I mean, does anybody have an idea of what maybe set this off? Is this a pattern? Is there a change in the routine? Is this a behavior change from her normal? And if there is no one around, that's a big missing piece here. We don't know. So given what we've identified, ooh, wow. We got called by a neighbor. There usually is a car in the driveway, but there's no car. And there hasn't been for 2 days. And they just got a little concerned. So they asked for a wellness visit, a check, because there is no car in the driveway. And they know that the lady that lives there has dementia. And there's usually a car in the driveway. Now it's different cars at different times of day frequently, but often, I mean, it's like the car is there for like a day or 2 days or 3 days, but there hasn't been a car in the driveway for 2 days. Now, what are y'all thinking? Who's thinking what out there? What are y'all suddenly thinking?
I love how little information makes this suddenly a very different picture.
Yeah, now all of a sudden when I think you're thinking human needs, how many are going, oh my God, she's been there like 2 days and nobody has been there? Uh-oh. Oh my Lord, 2 days. Yikes. So now we're walking in on her and she hasn't anybody around her in 2 days. Huh. So now we move to de-escalate. Because that's all we got. I mean, that is what we got. We're walking in cold. That's what we got. So given what everybody's talked about, do you have a plan of action? Yeah. Well, what's cool about this, we also have me in the moment. Now, are you going to do this in this moment? You might want to do a few pieces of it because it tells you right off, we don't know her name. I mean, we know her last name, Mrs. Snow, but I may not know what she likes to be called. And if I call her Mrs. Snow, I may or may not get anything. Language, well, it sounds like it might be. Well, I hope it's English because that's about the only one I know well enough to do much with. Speech, well, she's got some, but it's fairly unintelligible most of the time. Comprehension, I'm not sure, but I'm suspicious given the quality of the speech. Hearing, I don't know. I'm not sure. Activity preference. Activity preference. What are y'all noticing there? If you look at that sheet, what do you think? What do you think about her?
A lot of
People are thinking doer.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
what
and
else
when
did
you
she
look
do?
at the items in the space, some of them are passive items, but a lot of them are active items. There's an apron. Aprons are used to do things. You know, there was like a muff thing that had some interesting stuff to touch. So when you get curious about what she's got in her hands, you can notice a little bit more that you might have missed.
Yeah, does she seem to like to look at stuff? I mean, did she look at several things? And if she liked it, she then did something with it. Was she also talking out loud, even though no one was there? Okay. Do we think she might be in some pain? Is there evidence of potential pain here? Something. Yeah. All right. Has she been crying out or calling out for people, or does she pretty much look for stuff? We don't know about her family, but we're suspecting, wow, she's missing some people and there's no cars. We don't know for sure what's going on. Sensory preferences, any thoughts about that? Now, why am I doing this before I start my de-escalation? Because is she in high distress? Go back a page, Beth.
You know, it sounds like you're pointing out there's a difference between when I do the observe, when I do a little discover, when I start to identify, there's almost like a pause point to figure out. Now you're talking to me, is there enough danger happening here that can I do some more digging? Is that what you're saying? That there's actually some
There
assessment
might be
moment?
value in me being a little more thoughtful about what things has she been drawn to. So when I come into her visual regard, do I want to bring something with me that would be something she might engage with? Do I want to bring a mug and hydration? Do I want to bring something of interest that I could engage her with? Something that might draw her eye and get her interested in with me? Do I want to maybe take off my outer shirt and have a shirt in my hands to engage her? So what we figured out is there's a possibility here that this woman might need me to get my head in gear and my brain engaged here before I start moving forward, because she's not actually in an acute distress state. She may have a lot of unmet needs after 2 days, but me jumping in here and getting carried away may not be the right answer. So taking my time to do me in the moment might still have value. Not filling the whole friggin' thing out, I didn't say that, but it's just this opportunity that it might be helpful. And now we get to what we're going to do intervention wise, which is actually create a care plan for the moment. So we need how many people going into this situation? Let me see the fingers go up. 1. When that person comes in, what speed do they need to move at? How much language do they need to be using? How low and slow do they need to be? How close do they need to go initially to see what she does? Where do they want to come into that room? That room was, there's a lot. Wow. All right. Does this tool make sense? It's a very quick reference tool. So before we finish, and I open it up for questions because that's what I want to do here in just a couple minutes, I've got one more scenario. Okay, because I want to give you a chance to see one more scenario. So this lady actually, after we did our intervention and got her to the hospital and found out, we did take her on into the hospital because we couldn't find out. It turns out the people who were taking care of her, they had emergencies in their own family. They had COVID in their own family. And so they didn't come. But unfortunately, her guardian, it's a guardian ad litem, and the guardian wasn't available. They weren't able to get up with them. And then they got involved in their whole life and they weren't paying attention. So nobody's been with this woman for 2 days because she doesn't have any family left. She's it. That's it. That's all there is. Now, if we don't think this is happening all over the United States and around the world, thing gone. Because it is, and it does. And it happened before COVID, and it's still happening. People don't come, people don't show, people give up, people move away, people get left. And that's a really yucky situation, but it could be in a community where all of a sudden we've had a lot of turnover of staff, and we have a lot of staff calling out and a lot of staff not being available. And all of a sudden people are in long periods of time without things happening. So now what we do is we support her, we get her, and we get the care system set back up. Because everybody's going back to the care they had before. Let's take a look at Tifa on a regular day, not 2 days without support, and let's see what she looks like. This is, I don't know why people come in here and they take everything and they just smear it all over, and I don't, see, this doesn't belong there. These are nice ones that should be put up. And this, there are very good pockets in this. That's, I might do that. I'm gonna put it here. And see this, what is, oh, it's a apron. It's my apron. This is the one from, it's from, so look at it, see, no, I know these ones here, they're all of them, I know them. Girl Scouts, that's, and so I want to keep it, but I don't keep it out like this. And oh, now these, I like the colorful ones of these because they're very, there's another one, and here's that one. Oh, who put those down there? This here. These should be monitored, and I don't, those go here, I'll put them here. I don't like, this needs to be washed. So does this need to be washed? That's not mine. Where did this come from? I've got to take this to go do it. How do I get out of here? This way. So, oh, there's some more things. Let me get in there. No, it's dark. I need to find the request for it. All right. Does she have carers? Yeah. What are they doing? Fixing lunch. Now, take a look at your tool. And what could you do to support this woman where she should be versus where she is, and coming up with a care plan? So, still have value. Think you could use the tool this time? All right. We're going to take a moment here, and I'm going to open it up for questions, because this was about using this tool. And my goal was to demonstrate the use of the tool. So I'm curious as to whether or not I did an okay job of helping you see the value and possible use of this tool in the work that you do. And I don't know the answer, so I'm curious, what did y'all notice? Or what was helpful?
So people said it was helpful to see the comparison and to see the same woman with the different circumstances and how she acted so differently.
Yeah, and if all you saw her was in that first video, you're thinking, wow, she really has advanced dementia. And what I would say is, well, not really, but when you're not getting your needs met and you don't have a way to get your needs met, and the environment is not as supportive as we wish it were. But in this moment, do we know whether or not we have optimized Tifa yet? Or is she in an environment with a support system that has not realized what her strengths are? And she continues to have this situation that could be better, but it's not an emergency situation of dehydration, malnutrition, impaction, problems with being drenched. I mean, but does that mean she's any more cared for as far as getting her needs met as a human who has a history, a strong history of being active and wanting to be engaged and liking to be someone who knows what to do and trying to organize things when her brain is disorganized? So I don't know that we are done with the tool. I think the problem is it's not a crisis, but it should be. Because we are paying a significant amount of money for somebody to care for her, and yet what they're doing is only taking care of some very basic physiological needs, and we're missing the biggest need of all. What is she trying to find for herself? Amanda nailed it. What is she trying to find? How to get comfortable, how to have value and purpose. Why is somebody fixing her lunch versus having her come engage with them to do something for lunch? Oh. Is there something she could do? We don't know yet because we haven't engaged her to find out what's possible. What we have done is create a space where she's not dangerous, but I'm not sure we're optimizing her abilities yet. Any other questions folks have? Because this is, also a place to ask questions if you have some.
Yeah, you've had several questions, and one of them is from Sydney asking, I wonder why she isn't worse without help for 2 days. So would an emerald become a ruby in that time?
Yeah, it can actually very much happen, because when she was an emerald, she was taking in plenty of hydration, plenty of nourishment. And so what she initially might do is try to, what else might be problematic? Does she know how to get under covers and get warm? So what might she be trying to do with the things she could find in the environment? Yeah, so she's doing something, but she doesn't have a way, she's not seeing any food. There isn't any food there. What did you see on the couch area that you didn't see the last time? An empty plate and a spoon. She apparently ate something, but kept it in the room. So she is able to feed herself. But if the problem is she's not had anybody bringing her food and drink, we could see a fairly significant change in her cognitive ability. And it could last, she could bounce right back, but she might not. We won't know until we explore further how much kidney damage has been done, how much change in, how much did she need the medication. So yeah, you're absolutely right. She has sort of a delirium state, which means a temporary brain change. This is what she looks like normally, but this is what she's going to look like if we're lucky in 2 days. Guess what? Or she might have fallen a couple times, and that could be some of her hesitation of going up and down. Or maybe she didn't, but maybe she's been on her feet for 2 days because she can't figure out how to sit down. Maybe she was okay the first day, but not the second day. Maybe all you have to do is go through that door to where the bathroom is, or where the kitchen is, or where there's water or drink, but she doesn't know that. So she's sort of stuck where she is. Yeah. Anything else, Rachel?
There were some, but they got lost in all the chat. So I've asked people to put them in the Q&A.
All right.
Tipa, one of the things that I thought was, interesting is hearing maybe how people have seen maybe what roles, who could use what parts of this tool. So I think about, one of the intentions of this was for first responders, whether it was emergency personnel out about in the world, or whether it was, EMTs, and how deep could they get, or what information could those of us, be using the deeper pages, the person-centered care planning, or even the me in the moment. How much more do her care partners know about her? So if someone came in cold, what could they be given? So I'm looking at the people in the chat, and what they're saying, what you guys are saying is so rich and so clearly informed. There seems to be a different level of awareness. So I'm curious if anybody used the tool with others who are less aware than you are. And how have you used it? Yeah. So as people are typing, since that was a big question, this concept of how
You
different
asked two things,
roles.
have you and how did you and that kind of thing. Yeah. That would be how you do that. Yeah.
Thank you for breaking that down. With families in denial, they're in this process of grief and trying to figure out where somebody is, perhaps to see what's possible, but then also what's not possible anymore, where those supports could be. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, what I see is that some folks would like this to be workbook size. I mean, still bound like this and still laminated possibly, but bigger. So it's easier to see the font and the print. And so we will certainly really, I'm sure if Christine's on here, she's keeping track of this information. She's in charge of product development to make this a full size book size, so an 8x12, so that you could, this was meant indeed to carry around and throw up there, but this larger print might really come in handy. Or print on your own. We'll talk about it. Amanda and Christine will tell you what to do, man, because don't look at me, I'm staying out of that one. I just help create stuff and then I back off because I got plenty to do on my plate.
Yeah.
So
in the meantime, if you guys do, knowing that you can photocopy pieces of it, maybe blow it up, or maybe it can be your guide where you have those conversations and you transfer onto your own electronic medical records, or having these conversations with families that it begins the conversation where they're starting to share some things that they think might be about mom or about their spouse or loved one. Yeah. Yep. And that was the other reason, this idea of using a fine point white dry erase marker on it to get that conversation started, where people might be able to cross out things that they know don't feel right. Yeah. Yep. There's the interactive piece. What could people see that they're thinking, just to get that identification? Nice.
Okay, now we have just a couple of minutes, and I wanted to give Amanda a couple of minutes because she has a special offering. Because you came to this webinar, because you're here, there's a special offer for you guys, and she's going to make it. I'm going to say thank you for coming and participating and being sort of involved in this. And, let me know, did you find the videos that I did helpful? Do you think they were fairly reasonable given what you tend to think and see when people are in these gem states, and we're trying to help people understand they're not non-purposeful, they're trying to do the best they can with what they got. Cool. All right, so all right, man, that's all yours.
All right, so hopefully you guys saw the difference between taking something at face value and digging a little deeper. And if you're interested in more stuff about the gems and about who we are as people, because that's really what Tipa's work is based in, is people are people are people, and sometimes there's dementia. And gem states are gem states for all of us, whether there's dementia or not. we go through different states in every single day. And so our conference this year is about all gems can shine. And so one of the reasons that you guys are here is to dig a little bit deeper into the gems. And I just saw in the chat, why don't you use people really living with dementia? Great question. Sometimes we do. We're still in the pandemic, so we're still limited by what we can film, and many of our videos are from years past. However, at the conference, we have already, Rachel and Rebecca have already worked with over 15 people living with dementia, recorded interviews of advocacy work, sharing their story, sharing what it's like, and tidbits and pieces to know and what to go into a situation thinking about. So I threw in the chat a PDF with a coupon code that's just for you guys who've attended this webinar. You can get $50 off of the conference if you'd like it. So thank you for joining. And if you want to know more and see more, then keep joining us. We're going to try to offer as many free things as we can. And if you sign up for the conference before July 1st, you'll get another free webinar with Teepa just for signing up early. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thanks for exploring this tool with us. And we'll take your comments into account and see what else we can do and how else we can provide this tool to you. All right. Thanks, guys.